Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we're looking at Game 5 here. Both kind of thinking this might be the last game, but don't be shocked if the Heat do pull this one off, because you should stop being shocked whenever the Heat do anything incredible. But we're looking at player props in this one. Also have a best bets video up for you for this game, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page and follow along with us throughout the rest of these NBA finals. Also want you to head to thelines.com. We are putting up all the picks up on the site right now, and we have that odds finder tool up there, a nice chart in front of you to go ahead and see all those odds available to you from the different books, giving us bets in these NBA playoffs. We did not have an awful game in terms of these player props, because we were sprinkling a few little units on some same game parlays, but we hit a couple of core bets, including 8 head-to-head rebounds for Jimmy to get more than Michael Porter Jr., which was great. And then Caleb Martin came in and scored over 9 points for us. Got 11 in that game for a unit and a half. Might see him again, as I still think he's being undervalued. But let's kick off Game 5 player props with the ageless wonder, Mr. Kyle Lowry.
Who's actually we kicked off game 1 with as well, I think. And now he gets a little bit of extra rest. He surprised us by playing really well on Friday on one-day rest.
Yeah.
While Gabe Vincent continued to just struggle, bust. Him and Max Strus, I think, both complete non-factors, just turning into a pumpkin at the worst time or whatever. I mean, credit Denver's defense, but Lowry is a guy with plenty of championship acumen. His last 2, he's stepped up for Miami, averaging 11 points and 6 assists per game. So I'm fine putting a unit on him to go 14 points and assists here. I do want to combo the assists because he is looking to play make more. And then I looked at the three-pointer odds for plus 135 for him to hit 2. So I would, it's the last player props of the season. Let's go big on a unit and a half on that second one and try to get a nice return as you head into the off-season /NFL or whatever else you might bet on this summer. But in any case, the minutes have been ascending for Lowry. 33, even though it was short rest. He plays well on the road in the playoffs, averaging 1.5 threes at nearly 40%. And his last 3 particular road playoff games with the chips down here, he's hitting 2 a game from deep at 55%. Also giving you 9 points, 4.5 dimes. He's giving you 5 dimes in this series. Nice, really, chemistry with Bam in that pick and roll. We know Hero's not coming back, so it's going to be Lowry controlling the ball, especially if Vincent struggles again. I don't know if it'll be that bad, but right now, confidence is at a critical for those guys, the undrafted free agents, those two. And Lowry is a guy who's been there and done that, and I think will be part of the reason that Miami doesn't lay down here, that they give it their best shot to extend the series.
Totally. Kyle Lowry might be playing like a guy whose NBA career is coming to a close in the near future. So I would definitely go balls to the wall on Kyle Lowry if you like it. I mean, balls to the wall unit half is still a good amount. But I agree. Like I'm following you on that one. I was definitely looking at Kyle Lowry once I saw that for him to make 2 was plus money, and I think he's going to be putting up like 5-ish, 6-ish threes. I keep talking about the contested field goals for guys like Strus, Vincent, Kevin Love, Duncan Robinson. Those guys have been singled out, quadrupled out, whatever, by the Nuggets as guys that are not allowed to shoot from deep, period. That means that Kyle Lowry is. And the majority of his 3-pointers were uncontested in this last game, 5 of the 6. And then even the last 3 games, he is the guy. Caleb Martin, who might start to get a bit more attention as he's looked better in the last 2 games. But like between Caleb Martin and Kyle Lowry in the first 4 games, those were 2 guys that were not getting closed out upon when they were shooting. You got to leave somebody open if you're going to sell out on at least 2 or 3 of the shooters on the floor. And those guys Kyle Lowry is not that guy that's getting that attention. So I would like that as well. I want to throw one more thing out before I talk about my pick, because I forgot to mention it. My buddy Evan gave me some good knowledge yesterday when he sent me the tweet about Kevin Love recently becoming a dad of another child. child. And so maybe there's some Kevin Love stuff in there because he's playing like 2 days after the birth of his child. Might be riding high on that. If you like him at like 6.5 points, just kind of throwing out another like little like emotional bet here. If it's Kyle Lowry's NBA career coming to a close in the nearest future, and Kevin Love being a new dad, maybe we're riding high and some good feelings for those guys. I'm not betting on Kevin Love. I just wanted to throw that out there in case anybody plays that.
I mean, yeah. Is Denver want to celebrate by just leaving him completely wide open again for
Yeah.
3 threes? Because they gave him 2 in the last game, but I don't know about 3.
Yeah, no, maybe not 3, but like I think he hit 3. But either way, that was all of his points. He's gonna have to do that again, like you're saying. So I look it up if you want. You can still get pretty good money for Kevin Love to make 2 threes too. It might be where you go with it. It's like plus 175 for him to get over 1.5. So just throwing that one out there as well. But let's talk about my actual pick, which is a nice little same game parlay because I was trying to find ways to get Jamal Murray to score 25 plus points, and that's what this bet is based on. So do with that what you will, because for him to get 25 plus, like maybe we just take we get a guarantee win in potentially the last game of the NBA season and just say it's like minus 155 for him to get 25 plus points because his prop is at 25.5 after another poor game, sub 20 point game in this last one. Obviously still had he had 15 points at the 10 boards, or excuse me, 10 assists that I think you might want to talk about as well at some point, because Jamal Murray to lead this series in assists was pretty good money before it started, and it's down to like minus 3,000 at this point. And for him to be leading in every game of the series is down to like minus 195 or him to get 10 assists in every game of this series is down to minus 195, which at one point was like 300 to what's like 33 to 1 or something ridiculous. So either way, I'm going back to his points because he has scored less than 20 points a few times in this playoffs, 6 to be exact, less than 25 points rather, even going up that high 6 times in this playoffs, and then come back to average 31 in the next 6 games that he's played. So I definitely want to make sure I got him in my same game parlay, or just take him, like I said, just take some not great odds and juice there to get yourself something that you feel good about, which I do feel good about this, or just add the half a point, get the hook, and then you get close to like minus 110. Caleb Martin going right back to the well, and I'm going to cheat and just make him my second pick as a foreshadowing here. 10 plus points though is what I can get him at. It's at like 10.5 in his points prop in general, but I'm just going to keep it at 10, and I'm going to keep Bam to 20, which he's done every game and just didn't get the 21, and that hook got us last time in game 4 where he got 20 points instead of 20.5 or more than that. So I if you go with all 3 of those, it's plus 472 on FanDuel. Pretty good juice there for them to do that. I feel good about that happening. Like I said, for Jamal, it's just a bounce back game scenario, back at home, finishing things out. Going to continue to shoot the ball 20 times in this game, I think. I know that Jimmy did a decent job on him last game and has done a decent job on him when he's guarded him, but I just don't attribute it entirely to that. Like, I know they're throwing a ton of guys at Jamal, but that didn't really matter when he got hot in that game 3 there, which I would feel good about him doing once again. Caleb is back. He's not sick anymore. He's shooting the ball 10 to 12 times a game. If he needs 10 points on 10 to 12 shots, I'm feeling good about that as well. Once again, 4.5 boards, I briefly mentioned, for him is still even money on DraftKings as well, so I would take that. And then the Bam 20, like, he's done it in every game this series. Like I said, just the half point that screwed us in the last game for him to get over, but he still shot the ball 19 times. He just only hit 8 of them, 42%. He's had bad games like that, so it's not like it's like that wild to see him shoot 42%, but he makes one more, right? And I think he's much more capable of shooting at closer to about 46, 47% where he's been in the last 6 games versus, this last game where he only had shot at 42%. So with that usage rate still at the highest on the team, and the fact that, like, look, 4 free throws last game was low for him. He should be getting 6 or 7 at least moving forward. Like, I think there's an opportunity for him to get back into that. And I kind of want you to respond to that, but I also just really quickly wanted to bring up the 3-point leader stuff as well before we talk about that, just because Jamal's at 10 threes, and he's minus 290. That's on Bet365. It's basically minus 300 everywhere for him to be leading this series in threes when it's over. If we think this game is over, who's going to have more threes in this game is kind of the question. It's him and Gabe Vincent tied at 10 each. Plus 280 for Vincent to have basically more threes in this game than Jamal Murray. That would be what I would consider, just throwing it out there. Nikola Jokic is 130 to 1 to be leading this series in threes. He's got 7. We would need Jamal to basically not make any and Joker to hit 4 for that to come through. Is it worth it at 130 to 1 though?
Might be worth $1.
Yeah.
But that's where I'm going in terms of, like, I remind you last show when I had this scoring parlay with Jimmy, Joker, Bam, they all hit, and Jamal did not. And you were like, I don't know. I'm a little concerned about Jamal after the big game. He was red hot in the first half, really almost the first quarter. I mean, really just got it going and then couldn't be contained at some point. But Miami's clearly doing everything they can to shut him down, to shut down his scoring, make him a passer. He's made them pay, so maybe they'll adjust. But if they continue to blitz him on every single pick and roll, I don't think he's scoring 25 because that's just not the way like Denver plays. They're a great team. They can get the ball out of his hands. He can either get the dime or somebody else can score. So for me, I'd rather go with Jokic 25 plus or or throw in Jimmy 20 plus because I mean he might go for 30. I mean he's due in some way. The lack of aggression. We always talk about closeout Jimmy, whatever. I would include him again as he got 25 to hit that parlay last time. And I'm going back, like I said, with late series Jimmy, 25-7-7 game. I know people saying like he could do more. Sure. But what I'm taking here is him to just board up again and Bruce Brown to not be within 3 rebounds of him. So -2.5 on the rebounds. Head-to-head bet at DraftKings gives you plus 105 odds. As Josh mentioned, we hit this with the MPJ versus Jimmy last game because Jimmy had 7 boards, and he's now gotten 7+ in 7 of his last 10 playoff games. Whereas Bruce Brown is, pretty much 50-50 going under 4.5 rebounds in these playoffs. He's averaging 3.9. He's averaging 4 in the finals and almost 0 contested rebounds, 0.3 contested rebounds per game. So if it falls to him, he'll grab it, but he's not going out there and competing. As we know, Jimmy Butler in late series games, I've mentioned this last time, in the final game of a series, 8.3 boards per game. In the penultimate game, 9.5 rebounds. Anytime you can say penultimate, you got to throw it in there. And in these finals, he's getting 13 rebound chances per game and nearly 3 contested rebounds. So, like I'm saying, he's out there competing. And Bruce Brown, he had a great finish. I love the guy. I was thinking about taking his props again. But the reality is, like, he's not a high usage guy necessarily. He's really playing more of a backup point guard role. And it fits in with what we're saying about Murray, is that he's especially going to be a facilitator and a point guard when Murray's getting doubled all the time. And point guards don't typically rebound much. And that's why we always saw him get, 2 boards in game 4. He doesn't need to rebound because he has the league leader in rebounds in Joker and Aaron Gordon, who just absolutely dominated the paint in his last game. So he doesn't necessarily need to do that as much as Jimmy, who basically is your defensive power forward if Caleb Martin's out there as your token power forward. So between Jimmy and Bam, they have to go for every rebound. And I don't think Bruce Brown's going to be in that role, even with the second unit.
Yeah, it's hard to nail down when Bruce Brown's going to play enough minutes. I'm not thrilled that I just chose not to talk about him the one time that he just went absolutely bananas. And so, either way though, like the rebounds for him are not something that, like, I basically put him at 3 rebounds and you got to put Jimmy at about 7. So the 2.5 seems like a pretty nice disparity. If you think that I do, that Jimmy's a solid 4 rebounds better on average than Bruce in this game, then yeah, you feel good about it. Bruce, if anything, like maybe the points again. That dude is not afraid to shoot, and he finally got more minutes than, above the 22 minutes that he was getting at times over the last, roughly 6 or 7 games for this team. So the fact that he could play that many minutes, but you just don't know, is like, yeah, I'm just going to continue to go with Jimmy. The only other thing is, like, do think Miami's going to miss a few more times than Denver. But that's where I think Bam's going to come to play and gobble up those rebounds, like I said. And I still believe in Caleb Martin rebounds since they're only at 4.5, which would eat into the ability, obviously, there for other guys like Bruce Brown to be getting those, as I think they'll be guarding each other. So let me move on, though, to just Caleb Martin. I'm happy to end things with Caleb Martin. I think he got a raw deal in the first 2 games. I don't know why it wasn't talked about beyond like this podcast that he was so sick and couldn't be the same dude. But it's just one of those situations where, like, when you're going game to game and it's the same teams playing each other every time, you're trying to find the variance. Like, where are things changing between games that I can depend on? And I don't know what Spo's what his sort of adjustments are going to be. I don't know how Michael Malone is going to react to this and that necessarily, and who's going to play because of this. But Caleb Martin is someone that, like, we knew what he meant to this team in the series versus Boston. It's the same scenario for what he means to them now. As you said, a token power forward who isn't maybe necessarily guarding the other team's power forward, but he's 6'5", so he's at least guarding the 3 on the other team, who in this situation is 6'10" in Michael Porter Jr. So, like, he's needed out there, and he can guard Michael Porter Jr. as well. He's not getting back down or anything. So I like him to get the rebound still. I like him to get the over 10.5 points though. At DraftKings is where the best odds are. -1.5 units for me to get that. I think it's actually -110 now in DraftKings. I mislabeled this a little bit better than -115, but back to 1.5 units, and nothing's changed after what we saw in that game 4 from him to make me believe that he's not going to go back to a similar player. I'm not saying he's dropping 26 points on this team like he did in the Celtics series, but I think on 12 shots he's very capable of scoring 11 times. He's not really getting to the free throw line, but he has started attacking a bit more. They did close out on him decently well. He only took 2 threes, but he did get 2 offensive rebounds in there as well, which led to at least 2 points right there. 41% from the field is not good, right? 5 for 12. So I think there's some positive regression available for him as he still gets kind of his touchback after not really playing basketball super competitively for like a solid week, even though he played 20 minutes in the first 2 games. So I just think that there's value here for him because he's been undervalued, because the reason he went back down to earth wasn't just like, oh, he's not that good in reality and all of a sudden he sucks after the Celtics series being so good. It was just that he was sick. So I continue to harp on that fact.
Yeah, he's been good. He's been aggressive in these last couple games back home, which we touched on, the support he's got there. I'm still curious. DraftKings has not released a bunch of these head-to-head player props. I mean, they don't have the odds. They have him plus 130 to outscore Bruce Brown. I don't know what the spread might be on that. Maybe it'll be dead even, but there's going to be some interesting angles in terms of Caleb versus, MPJ, perhaps. Fade him again. He only played 23 minutes despite playing much better. MPJ, or we could fade Gabe Vincent on the other side, and Bruce Brown, while we're not necessarily expecting a huge blow up again from him, he's -170 to outscore Gabe Vincent, and I don't know, that might seem like a lock to you guys, but yeah, just keep an eye on those head-to-head player props and see what the odds are with some of these role players. That's the way I would angle if you have a DraftKings account.
Yeah, those take a little bit longer to come out. But interestingly, too, just along the lines of that 3-point bet, Jamal Murray is -1.5 to score in terms of 3-pointers made over Gabe Vincent, as we're talking about that leader of the series play. For him to get 2 more in this one, yeah, I can understand that, but it's almost like I get plus 280 if Gabe Vincent scores 1 more 3 than him if I just take the leading series bet. And I think Gabe Vincent, and I think this game is over tonight, right? So I think plus 280 for Vincent to hit 1 more 3 than Murray in this one is reasonable, and it's almost like a hedge on the 25-point bet for Jamal that I was throwing out there as well. So just some ways to mix and match on it. I am still feeling good about Jamal. I know they keep blitzing him, but I'm going to take him for the 25 plus just because that's what he does. But you are making me realize, like, Joker at 25 plus feels like a pretty nice lock as well. Like, there's no way he's getting 5 fouls in the first 3.5 quarters again. So you got to feel good about him playing enough to get 30 in this one. And that is all the time we have for you in this Game 5 Play a Props video. Make sure to like and subscribe, as we are coming back as soon as there's more hoop, which might be a Game 6. Otherwise, until we see you next, happy betting.